Okay, my name is Jeff Maxwell. I'm be talking about Microsoft Custom Vision API and some other Vision APIs. Kind of wrote what can I do with that, so I wanted to do a hot dog, not a hot dog app. Hopefully, I have a little bit more than 15 minutes now, but it was originally 60, now it's down to 15, maybe a little more. For those of you, this is kind of the agenda, I'll jump through that. Talk about Silicon Valley, which is where the hot dog, not a hot dog app comes from. If you haven't heard about it, it's a great show to watch. We'll talk through the photo services and actually go through some of the code. Silicon Valley, it's on HBO. It's about a group of people that have a great idea but just can't deliver and fail constantly, and hilarity ensues. So the hot dog, not a hot dog app was created by Jin Yang. It's a guy on the left, my right, your left. He came up with an idea of taking a picture and it would identify what food that was. They thought, oh great, that's a great app. You take a picture of your food and it identifies the food. Great, I can sell that. They go and sell that, and then when he actually delivers the app, it can only identify hot dogs. So it can say it's a hot dog or it's not a hot dog. So it's not very usable other than being identify if you want to decide if it's a hot dog. So I thought, well, what can we do that type of thing? So the first thing I started looking for is the different photo services. There's lots out there. There's Google, Amazon, Microsoft has a couple of different ones, and we'll kind of look at them briefly, but we'll mainly focus on the Custom Vision API, which is new. As of last year, it came out. These are going to be our two test photos. We have a hot dog and we have what's not a hot dog, and we'll see how that goes. So the first thing I want to do is AWS, they have a service called Recognition with a K, but you can go out and load an image and get the determination of what it thinks that image is. So the interesting thing is, I would be curious before this episode came out on Silicon Valley if they could actually identify all these things, but every single one of these we'll talk about can identify a hot dog. It says it's a food, and it's pretty confident it's a hot dog. Interestingly enough, Amazon could not identify that that was a piece of pizza. It doesn't know what this is. So it was just like, I have no clue, okay? So then I went to Microsoft Vision API, and this is the first Vision API that they came out with, where you send it a photo and then it tries to determine what's in the photo. And it gives you quite a bit of information back, including its confidence. So it thinks it's a hot dog, it thinks it's food, so it gives some of that information back. Same thing with pizza. So it gives you some of the confidence level of that. So that's kind of a nice thing. You can also say, I think this is 50% confidence that this is a hot dog, or 60%. Google also had some pretty good percentages and came back pretty well. And Google, I'll show something here in a little bit. Google has some really nice photo comparisons. It's not looking at the things in the image necessarily, but it's comparing to this image to all their database of other images and what do other people tag those images at are. So that's also another option for us. But it also identified food, the pizza. So any of these would work for us, right? Any of these, except for if we're trying to identify pizza with Amazon, any of these would work for identifying, is it a hot dog, true, false, is it a hot dog, is it not a hot dog? So back in May of last year, I think it may have been at Build or sometime last year, Microsoft came up with Custom Vision API. And what they're doing there is it allows you to upload your own set of images. So your own custom set of images, train the model of what those images are, and then do other comparisons. I'm going to upload a new photo. I'm going to do a comparison against my data set. So it's not all of Microsoft or all of Amazon or all of Google. It's just my set of data, okay? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to do just a little bit more than the hot dog, not a hot dog. I wanted to have some additional categories. So let me show you if I've got it loaded. Yeah, so this is the Custom Vision API. And I uploaded all these different images. As you upload an image, you can actually specify, this is a bun, hot dog, and mustard. So you can categorize, and all it needs for training is at least 5 images that have that specific keyword or type or tag, right? So as long as I do that, so I could do hot dog with chili, I just have to find 5 hot dogs with chili, and I could add that to my list, okay? So now you can actually upload, let's test this out. You can do, so you build out your images, you tag your images, and then you can train that model. And once you have that trained, then you can do your predictions. So now if I want to predict this, and actually it shows, I uploaded my images earlier. It's saying, yes, it's a hot dog. It also has mustard, it also has ketchup. And then the, the piece of pizza is not a hot dog, but has 11% ketchup. So we'll come back and see why that is. So it's really doing some matching of colors and those type of things too. So those are kind of our predictions of that. So now that I've kind of honed in on, this is the tool I want to use. I want to use this because I want that kind of granular thing. All the other services couldn't identify mustard and ketchup. Mine can now. So let's take a look here. If I can get out of that mode. Let's take a look at some of the code. In the code in the app, so this is going to be our UI, and please don't judge me on my UI design skills, but it's basically I'm going to upload an image, and I'm just going to say down the percentages. It's a hot dog, and what are the other percentages in our confidence. Now, if it is a hot dog above 50%, then I'm going to say hot dog, else I say not hot dog. But the key things here, you're going to get a couple of things. You're going to get a key. So this is your personal key for your service. And then you're going to get a URL to that endpoint service that's specifically yours. So that's secure. So you only know your key. You don't want to share your key. The endpoint URL is fine. I mean, it's just kind of an endpoint for you to hit. And what happens, the first thing you do is I'm going to have a file already uploaded calling this function. I'm going to take that, I'm going to put the key in the header. So when I send my results or say, give me the prediction, I'm going to send this key in the header. Okay, so that's what the API is going to look for to know that it's, hey, I'm authorized to call that endpoint. Then I'm taking that file that's being passed in, and I'm going to create that as a byte array. And then I take that and change that into a content array so that I can pass it over the wire, and it's not a binary file at that point. It's really just passing the HTML over the wire for me. I'm actually saying it's octet stream. I'm going to stream this data to you. All of these APIs that I looked at or talked about, and including this one, had 2 options. One, to physically upload the file to that service, or to point to a public location for that URL. So you don't have to upload it. You can say, here's the file, but I didn't have a location of a bunch of hot dogs, so I put it out here. Then it gets a response back from that prediction URL that I'll show, and then just reads in the data. I'm just reading it into a CV results type. We'll take a look at that. It's just the type of data. It's JSON coming back, and it's going to be a list of predictions. What are the predictions based on the different categories that I had? Okay? So let's take a look at that. And tell me if you can't see this. I can bump it up. Is that okay? All right, so coming in, there's the prediction key and the prediction URL. I just statically put those in here. When you upload the photo, I'm just blanking out, and I'm not using MVVM. So this is actually Xamarin and using Xamarin Forms. And the reason I'm using Xamarin Form 1 is this is C#, it's Oklahoma C#. I wanted to use .NET. The other is I don't want to have to know both iOS and Android. So this project was built, I can target either iOS or Android, and it uses the same layout and UI. So I'll talk about that. Let me jump over it. Sorry, I'll jump over that real quick. It's a pretty simple layout. I have a image. I have a button, basically, to upload the button. I have a status, which is just the hot dog, not a hot dog. And then I just have a list, a stack layout list that shows the prediction values, right? So this is the entire UI, and it works for both, if you're using Xamarin, it works for both iOS and Android, okay? It's a lot more generic. I can't do custom things. If I need to do custom things, you'll notice, and I don't know how to zoom in on these, maybe the same thing. There you go. The projects it also creates, Android and iOS, I can create custom views for that. I'm just having to write more code. You can do that with Xamarin, but I'm trying to maximize the amount of code that I don't have to rewrite. So back to the project. So I'm just clearing that out. I'm not using MVVM. I'm just writing into the values. I'm setting initially that it's not a hot dog and the background color, status color is red. And then I'm checking, I'm just doing a check. So with mobile development, you have to check if certain features are turned on. So if it doesn't allow you to upload, when they said, do you want this app to allow you to upload things or access to your photo library or access to your contacts, you say no, then this wouldn't be allowed. So they wouldn't be allowed to access that. And then I just take whatever will show the photo picker. This is a cross-media plugin that lets you work in both Android and iOS. Just drop this NuGet package in, and it'll allow you to do file uploads, downloads, those type of things. Just checking if I did get a file or not. Really probably don't need this, because if they don't pick anything, I guess it just exits the app and it won't try to process the fact that I didn't pick anything. And then I read in the file stream into the source to show the photo. And then I do this get prediction. That was the code that we kind of went through before, where set the prediction key in the header, load that image in the byte array, and then load that into a byte array content type, send that out. I get this back, and if I come here, see if I go to that. Here's the type. It's a list of predictions, which we can go look at, but ID, project, how many iterations when it was created, and then a list of predictions. The prediction one class is basically a tag ID, the tag name, and then the probability, the number. Is it's 20% confident or 11% ketchup on the pizza. Okay, so it takes that, returns that results back, and then I'm iterating through that list because I don't necessarily know where it's going to be, the hot dog's going to be, right? I'm expecting a hot dog tag back, but it may not be the first element back. It may be the last element. I really don't know. And most of what I've seen is a return in relevance order. So it's going to have the most relevant things at the top and on down. So I don't know that hot dog's going to be first. And I do a check. Is it hot dog function? That's pretty simple. It just takes the tag. If the tag is hot dog and the probability is greater or equal to 0.5, then I return that it's true, that it's a hot dog. Set the colors that I set as green, set the background status, and then I load that view table with the list of predictions. Okay. If we look at that UI again real quick, I lost it. So the predictions is that tag, that probability, and then the colors or status, hot dog status, and those type of things. So that's kind of how that works there. So let's try, they always say never run a live demo, so let's try it. Let's run a live demo here, maybe. So here's my, I think this is iOS 8 on 11.3. So it loads my hot dog, wonderful UI. I already have it on camera. I've tested this out a lot. So there's the hot dog. Comes back. It's a hot dog. Woo! No relish. No relish. And then the pizza, same type of thing. Not a hot dog. 11% ketchup. Always, that cracks me up. I'm sorry. So that's kind of how that works. But, and this kind of is relevant. I mean, yes, I have written maybe a little bit better hot dog, not a hot dog app now that I can identify some of the condiments on the hot dog, but that's still really not that relevant, right? It's very targeted. So what would you use this for, right? The really good use case that I've seen is if you have your own list of items that no one else has, right? I have an inventory. I want people to take pictures of inventory or things that I know what they are, but it's not readily searched, or things that out in the industry that are really popular, right? You could do food, but you're going to be loading a lot of food. So you're hoping, if you're going to do a generic one, you would probably pick Amazon or Google or something like that to be more relevant, right? That has a large, so you don't have to manage it. But if it's definitely something that you have, you could definitely do it that way. So what I did is, I used to work in the oil and gas industry for a lot of years. And for those of you who've been in oil and gas, this is called a Christmas tree. Not quite sure why it's called a Christmas tree, but it's called a Christmas tree, right? And so taking this image and going in the same websites, Amazon recognizes it, thinks it's a crucifix, or it thinks it's an emblem, or a child, maybe a human. They're pretty confident it's human or a child, right? So let's take a look and see what Microsoft thinks. Well, Microsoft isn't much better. It sees the things around it. It sees grass. It sees, fire. I don't know. I guess it's because it's red. So even Microsoft's general one didn't do that well. Google does a little bit better, and it's hard to see this. Maybe it's a little small. Up top, it doesn't get it right. So their generic label search, it can't find in the image what that is. But in their image comparison search, it does find it as a Christmas tree, right? So it's taking this image and blasting it against all the other images they say, and say, well, what are people calling this thing? Well, that kind of looks like a Christmas tree, so it returns that. So that could be a viable option for this type of thing, using the image comparison search, right? So let's take a look at what we can do on the custom vision. How am I doing on time? Am I doing okay? Okay. So on the custom vision, I created another project called Oil and Gas. And I uploaded these different Christmas trees. All different colors, different shapes, different sizes, those type of things. I've done the training on it. I take the prediction. I can do a quick test. Let's see if I can browse image. And so it finds it. So this is a really good case of, I have a limited number of images. I have my set of data. The internet's not predicting it very well, but I can, okay? So this is probably a more real world scenario of that. So that's what I've been focusing on, is those type of things where it's more meaningful. I'm actually doing work with Sonic right now, and you don't want to just take a picture of a hamburger and know that it's with this hamburger versus that hamburger. It's not going to identify that it's a Sonic hamburger, but we could do that if you took a picture of two different hamburgers. I don't know why you do that, but if you took two different pictures of hamburgers, we might be able to identify one brand versus the other. That might be a fun thing to try. So that's kind of it. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah. It's not bad. So it's in the million images for, let's take a look. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know the exact cost, but the image services, a lot of them are relatively inexpensive. Yeah, I know. Custom Vision API, still in test. Well, I'll find one that, let's look at the Microsoft one. They're very similar. So cognitive services, cognitive. So if you're using just the Vision API, I know it has its information, and I use the computer vision. You can look at the pricing, and it's going to be, 10 transactions per second is when you start having to pay for $1 a month, basically. You get 5,000 transactions per month for free, so those type of things. So that's how they all work. It's number of transactions per month, right? And so Microsoft has Face APIs, so does Amazon and all of those. So it's, how many impressions, how many pictures, how many photos. So it's something in that range. So if you were to get up in the, 1 million transactions, you're talking $1.50 per 1,000. So that starts to get expensive. But if you're a corporation and you need to identify equipment, it might be justifiable, right? Any other questions? All right, well, I thank you a lot. I'll publish this out on my GitHub. I don't know that I had a link to it, but I'll let everybody know and publish in the Slack channel. So thanks a lot.
Okay, we're actually doing pretty well on time. Did y'all think of any questions that you want to ask Lucas, or would you rather just save that